Money Vikings. Thanks for joining me. Money Viking Greg here. In this video, I want to go through 7 things that basically keep people poor. So I've got 7 things that I was sort of thinking about, and through all of our years of research and just life experience that we've realized keep people poor on their path to true wealth. So I want to share those with you so you can avoid them. And this isn't about perfect. There is no such thing as perfect. So the idea behind this list is people do these things, they're very common, but if we can minimize them or be aware of them, I think we have a much better chance at building wealth and a much better path to that. And I think just overall a much healthier and stronger life. So let's get into it. The first one, and other thing I want to add, these are things that you can control and manage to a great extent. Now, some of them might be addictions, and that's a whole other thing, and that's going to require healthcare or psychological help or counseling to deal with. But for the most part, these are things you can control. And what I mean by that is I'm separating this a little bit from big things we can't control. A big example is housing costs. In the area we work or live, we have certain housing costs. Now, within that area, we can make choices and hopefully we can get our housing costs reasonable or within our means. But, if you live in New York City or Los Angeles or whatever, you're going to have high housing costs. Now, hopefully your salary is enough to sort of manage and handle all that. But these are things that we can typically control within our own lives and stuff that I've seen. So, and the other thing I want to say is that you can do this. So, whoever's out there listening to this, I want you to really believe that you can make some changes, that you can take this information, and that it will make you wealthier because these things can happen. Don't buy into myths that being wealthy is only for certain people or you have to be born into it. You don't have to be born into it. You can make a difference. Now, do I believe in overnight or get rich quick stuff? No, I really don't. I really think it takes years, if not decades. But at the same time, why not do the things you can now so that later on they will compound and you will become stronger and healthier and have more wealth over time. So you can do the small things now that are going to make a difference. And the way I look at it, if you do a couple of these things, a lot of these things you are going to see immediate results. A lot of times when we get control and management, sound management on our finances and investing, it actually helps our mental health. Which helps our physical health, which helps our energy levels. And so all of these things sort of grow and compound together. So the first one I want to mention, vehicles and interest on vehicles. I drive around and I see so many expensive vehicles and cars everywhere that I know people have massive amounts of debt on them. In fact, I think that there is just a very high amount of vehicle debt out there. And nowadays, with interest rates as they've gone up, a lot of that new vehicle debt has very high interest rates. So that even makes it worse. But the point being, vehicles and cars and trucks in the United States are huge wealth building blunders for most people. And so we really have to get our wits about us when it comes to cars and vehicles. Now, where I live, you have to have vehicles. You have to have cars. It's pretty tough. It's possible, but it can be pretty impractical to get around just on mass transit, especially if you have a family. You have a lot of different places to go. So I understand that vehicles are a part of American life and they're a reality for most people. But at the same time, what we do have control of is the kind of vehicle. Now, we should definitely get something safe. I totally believe in safety and comfort and all those types of things. So I'm not saying, I'm not going to drive, even if it was cheap, some piece of junk that's going to break down or isn't safe. It's got to be safe. But there's a huge difference between the expensive Mercedes and BMW and the moderately priced Honda or Toyota or Subaru or whatever that's totally safe, has great safety ratings, even great features, and is tens of thousands of dollars less expensive, right? So that's the first one. Getting control of the vehicle cost and interest on, so the interest on it is the even worse part. So if a person is buying that Mercedes and they can't quite afford it and they're financing it, then they're paying interest on something that is, I don't even want to call it an asset, but a depreciating toaster oven on wheels, or iPhone on wheels, I guess, these days, that they bought. So that's the first one. It's a big one in the US. So the second thing that keeps people poor, really big thing that I've seen, is the interest paid on credit cards. So I know people have had to turn to credit cards more and more lately as prices have gone up. But we have to ask ourselves, what are we putting on the credit cards? And it gets so easy to swipe and to click. And what kind of stuff is going on those credit cards? And there might be a lot of impulse buys, a lot of things that are just extras, extraneous things, clothes, shoes, stuff that some of those things we need, but some of these things maybe are over the top. And so people are carrying pretty high credit card balances. And the interest on that is the really worst part. It's one thing to buy something, but when you buy something that absolutely just completely loses its value the minute you get it, and then you're paying interest on it, you are destroying your wealth. That's what you're doing. That's the reality. You're destroying your wealth. So anything you can do to get those credit cards paid off and not be paying that interest. My whole thing is, if you're going to use credit cards, you have to pay them off every month. Get those points, but every month just pay them off. So it never gets into that thousands and thousands of dollars. Okay. Number 3, smoking and vaping. So you see a lot of people still smoking, vaping. It's not only really bad for their health and their energy and how they feel, but it's really bad on finances. So I think the average might be something, it's thousands of dollars a year that smokers and vapors pay for smoking and vaping. Now, I know that there is an addiction element to this. So anything you can do to take care of your addiction, to get off of the smoking and the vaping, is going to make a huge difference in building wealth. And so I know there's a lot of resources out there, medical, health-wise, a lot of places people can go to help get them off of the habit of smoking and vaping. Number 4, gambling. Gambling is huge. You ever gone to Vegas? So those buildings didn't build themselves, and they weren't built off of a bunch of people gambling and making a bunch of money and taking it out of town. That money was based on gambling and losing. And that's what 95% of gamblers get, is a loss. They lose. Yeah, there's a 5% that they use for marketing to just keep you hooked, because they're tapping into our lizard brains or our monkey brains. They're tapping in to this high of ding, 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 I got it, I won, that big moment. But for most of us, it never comes. It's all just cost. Now, people can chalk it up to entertainment, and I've heard that argument before. I'm entertaining myself. It's entertainment. Okay, fair enough. But is it within your budget? So, is that really part of your entertainment budget? Do you have, how much do you have every month to blow on gambling and lose for entertainment? There's a lot of free entertainment options these days, so we got to consider that. But gambling is another one that keeps people poor. Number 5, this is a big one these days. So we are definitely being manipulated by big tech, right? We all know it. You can feel it. You can feel the way you're being manipulated by social media. Just tune in a little bit to how you feel. Do you feel good after you've been on social media? Do you feel good after you've been on X? You feel good after you've been on Facebook? Really? Do you really feel good? So this has to do with online impulse purchases. Online impulse purchases. I get the convenience of things like Amazon. I get the convenience of online. I use it myself. I understand. It's really nice to go on your phone and in 3 seconds swipe to the right and something shows up 10 hours later, 7 hours later, whatever, an hour later at your door. It's pretty convenient. But is there a portion of that that is impulsivity? How can we slow ourselves down? Think through the purchase. What are we doing here? So we got to be careful with that. We know we're being manipulated by big tech. Absolutely. Okay. 6 is kind of related. Again, 7 things that keep people poor. Tech purchases. Okay. Keeping up with the latest iPhone. I get the draw. I get it. You see the latest tech. You get made fun of because you have an old flip phone, whatever it is. If you have an old flip phone, you're probably rich like Warren Buffett. He has a flip phone. A billionaire. He hasn't bought an iPhone. It's fun to have the latest gadget, all the latest tech, but it comes with a cost. First of all, it's expensive. Second of all, it's not just the price of getting that tech. That tech then, again, it is further manipulating us and addicting us to it. We're addicted to it. That's the bane. That is sort of a common theme right now of our modern world. We are addicted to our phones. We are addicted to tech. And so I think we need to have a movement to rethink that and to find a way to have a healthier relationship with it. I believe in tech. I think it adds a lot of good, but every tech seems to have a good side, a light and a dark, or a good side and a not so good side. So that's number 6, keeping with the tech purchases. And what I'm adding to that are the tech algorithms that are manipulating us. That's what I'm saying. Okay. The 7th thing that keeps people poor is not really a purchase. It's the lack of something. It's the failure to automate. We are our own worst enemies when it comes to investing in long-term thinking. Our brains are not wired to think that way. We have to train our brains to think that way. We have to literally train our habits to think that way. Train and mold our thinking to think that way through study, through thinking through it, through who we interact with, through how we think, through how we are behaving. And so, failing to automate is keeping people poor. I have found the biggest wealth builder, and I think the biggest wealth builder in the history of humanity, is automating investments into a diversified basket of investment vehicles like ETFs or funds. And every 2 weeks, right, when the paycheck comes in, you pay yourself first automatically. You're getting your monkey brain and your short-term thinking completely out of the equation. You can't even control it at that point. You are automatically investing and saving for your future self and your future and your family. So that's the 7th one, failure to automate. So these are 7 things that keep people poor. Please share others. What are you seeing out there that keeps people poor? I'd like to know. I know there's others out there. There's a whole bunch of them. And remember, there's no perfect. This is not about perfection. This is about doing better and better and better incrementally. So if you're failing at a lot of these things, I don't want you to feel down or discouraged or to turn the video off and be upset with yourself. I want you to take a deep breath and say, tomorrow or today, I can make a difference in one of these areas. I can take one of my credit cards that's bogging me down that I got $2,000 on, and I'm paying 17% interest on a bunch of junk I forgot about. And I can pay it off for once, and I can cut that thing up, destroy it. Right? One step. You can get up tomorrow and you can say, I've lost a few years by not automating my investments. I'm signing up today. Today I'm going in and I'm doing 5% into an S&P fund and a bond fund, and I'm just going to let it ride. It's a turning point. That one step will get you to the next step. Smoking. I'm going to make that call. I'm going to go to that group to try to get control of this habit and this addiction, because my brain is it's the way I'm thinking. It's making me it's not healthy for you, right? So with that, thank you. Please like, subscribe, share the videos, and we'll see you all on the next one. Happy wealth building to all of you.